I never thought I'd see flashing red and blue lights in front of my house because I locked my own gate. But there I was, standing in my driveway, coffee still in hand, cops pulling up like I'd just robbed a bank. And the person who called 911, my 16-year-old neighbor, Karen's son. Because apparently in their world securing your own property is a crime. I live in a quiet cookie-cutter neighborhood where lawns are measured, hedges are trimmed, and people pretend to smile while secretly judging each other. The HOA here runs like a miniature government, strict, nosy, and power-hungry. And Karen, my next-door neighbor, was its self-appointed queen. She was the kind of person who'd write you up for leaving your trash can out 10 minutes late, then brag about maintaining community standards. You couldn't breathe too loudly without her filing a complaint. At first I ignored her. I figured she was just another control freak with too much time and too little joy. But then her teenage son Kyle started cutting through my backyard to reach the park behind our houses. The first time I thought it was harmless. The second time I told him kindly, "Hey buddy, this is private property. Please go around." He nodded. But the next day, there he was again. Eventually it became a routine. He'd hop my fence, cross my yard like it was his personal shortcut, and Karen would just wave from her patio like she approved. That's when I decided to install a side gate. Nothing fancy, just a simple wooden gate with a sturdy lock. It was my way of saying enough. The next morning I stepped outside to water my plants, and there she was, Karen standing on the sidewalk in her bathrobe, slippers, and a full face of righteous fury. "Why is your gate locked?" she snapped, like I owed her an explanation. I blinked, still half asleep. "Because it's my gate. My son uses that path," she barked. "You can't just block community access." Community access. It was my land. The property map was clear. I tried to stay calm, told her I had every right to secure my yard. But she wasn't hearing it. She muttered something about HOA violations and stormed off, robe flapping like a cape of self-importance. I thought that was the end of it. I was wrong. The next afternoon, around 3 o'clock, I heard sirens. At first I didn't think anything of it, maybe an accident down the street. But then the sound stopped. Right in front of my house. 2 police officers got out of the cruiser. Behind them stood Kyle, clutching his phone, looking smug. "Sir," one of the officers said, "we received a report about an unlawful obstruction. You've blocked access to a public walkway." I actually laughed. What? That's my gate on my property." Before they could respond, Karen came power walking over, holding papers that looked suspiciously like HOA printouts. "He's lying," she shouted. "The HOA says that area is communal." The officers, blessed their patience, asked me for proof. I went inside, grabbed my property documents, and showed them the boundary lines. Every inch of that gate was well within my land. 5 awkward minutes later, one officer turned to Karen and said, "Ma'am, this isn't shared land. It's his." Her face dropped. Kyle shifted uncomfortably. Then the officer added, "Also calling 911 for a civil dispute is misuse of emergency services." I thought that would be the end of it. But with Karen, there's never an end, just another round. A few days later, I found a letter taped to my door. Notice of violation. It read, "Unauthorized modification of property detrimental to community harmony." Community harmony. That was the actual phrase. And guess whose signature was at the bottom? Karen's vice president of the HOA. I felt my blood pressure rise. She'd lost the 911 stunt, so now she was using the HOA to hit back. Still, part of me hesitated. Maybe I should just take the gate down, avoid more drama. Maybe she was right. Maybe I'd gone too far. I sat at my desk that night, staring at that letter, feeling the familiar knot of frustration and exhaustion. Living here had turned into walking on eggshells, waiting for the next complaint, the next threat of fines. I even caught myself thinking, is it really worth it? But then I remembered that moment standing in my own driveway, treated like a criminal because I locked a gate on land I pay taxes for. I remembered the officer's face, the neighbors watching from their windows, and Karen's smirk when she thought she'd won. And that's when something inside me clicked. No more backing down. So I did what Karen never expected. I prepared. I gathered every document, every property record, every message she'd ever sent me. I printed photos of the gate from every angle, even highlighted the legal boundary lines. When the next HOA meeting rolled around, I showed up early and sat right up front. Karen was already there, clipboard in hand, looking like she was about to host a courtroom drama. When the meeting started, she jumped in immediately. "We're here to discuss a violation of property modification," she announced, glaring at me. "The gate in question blocks safe access for neighborhood children." "Who are trespassing?" I interrupted. A few heads turned. Karen's smile tightened. "It's about the principle," she said. "This community values openness, safety, and cooperation." I stood up calm but steady. "And I value privacy and property rights. Here's the official survey of my lot signed by the county. The gate is entirely within my boundary. There is no shared path, no easement, nothing." The HOA president asked to see the documents. The room went silent as he scanned them. Finally, he looked up and said, "Karen, he's right. The property lines are clear." Karen's face went pale. "That can't be." "It is," the president cut in. "And frankly, this complaint shouldn't have been filed." A murmur spread through the room. Someone chuckled. Another person whispered, "Typical Karen." The president continued, "This board will be dismissing the violation. And Karen, please refrain from using your position for personal disputes." That was it. The meeting moved on, but the atmosphere had shifted. People were smirking. Karen sat back in her chair, fuming, pretending to take notes. I walked out of that room feeling something I hadn't felt in months: control. After that day, the neighborhood changed overnight. The folks who used to avoid me, afraid of being seen talking to the guy on Karen's bad side, started waving again. A few even came over to thank me. Turns out she'd been tormenting others too, fining people for Christmas lights, complaining about barking dogs, even dictating mailbox colors. Everyone had a story. But the 911 call, that was the breaking point. It became legend. Karen's kid called the cops over a locked gate. People laughed about it at block parties. Her house earned a nickname, Fort Entitlement. Karen hated it. She stopped showing up to meetings, stopped patrolling the neighborhood with her clipboard. And one morning I saw a notice pinned to the HOA bulletin board: Karen, last name, has resigned from her position as vice president of the Homeowners Association, effective immediately. No explanation, no goodbye, just gone. For a while it was quiet. Too quiet, honestly. No more angry knocks on my door. No more sticky notes about improper hedge height. I'd go outside, breathe the morning air, and feel peace. I hadn't realized how much tension I'd been carrying until it was gone. One day I decided to replace my old fence, made it taller, cleaner, stronger. And on the new gate I added a little sign, "Private Property." No shortcuts, no exceptions. It wasn't just for show, it was closure. As I tightened the final screw, a car slowed beside me. It was one of the officers from that 911 day. He rolled down his window and grinned. "Hope nobody calls us this time," he joked. I laughed. "Me too, officer, me too." He waved and drove off. I stood there for a moment, hand resting on the gate, the afternoon sun casting long shadows across my yard. For the first time in a long while, I didn't feel watched. I didn't feel cornered. That gate wasn't just wood and metal anymore, it was freedom. You know, Karen thought her power came from rules, but it didn't. It came from fear. The fear she planted in everyone around her, fear of conflict, of fines, of drama. The moment someone stopped being afraid, her power vanished. And as I closed the gate that evening, hearing the lock click into place, it didn't sound like a barrier. It sounded like victory. Lesson: stand your ground. Bullies crumble when you stop giving them control.